What up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome to another Nerf Frame video. So today we're going over the, I guess you call it the Arsenal Divide patch notes and Nerf updates that DE gave us a couple days ago. Unfortunately, it was delayed, so I had to I don't do videos on the weekends, so here it is on one day, and we're going to go over it after I've had plenty of time to read it over. Lots of interpretations on these patch notes have been given by people. We're actually going to show some simulations of the nerfs because, honestly, they nerfed Melee, but they didn't nerf it as much, which is, I'm kind of feeling like they just shouldn't have nerfed it at all with how minimal these nerfs were. There's also some gun new mods. I wouldn't call them buffs because the actual stats of guns have not changed at all. It's only new mods that you must grind from the steel path to get these, air quotes, gun buffs. We've also got a Kuva Nuclear nerf and some other things to go over as well. So before we get into it, make sure you're subbed to the YouTube channel and all that stuff. There will be 3 YouTube videos on these dev workshops because I don't want to make this video like an hour and a half long. So there'll be 3 videos on the other dev workshops, one on the Helmet abilities and one on Parazon finishers, which will be coming out in the next couple days as well. This will be focused on the nerfs to Melee, which are in the dev post I will show you right now. All right, so let's get into it. What's happening with Melee? Now here's the main things that are getting nerfed right here. So here's the nerf section right here. Berserker. This mod is being changed to an entirely different mod. Berserker currently is one of the strongest mods in the game for melee attack speed. No, it's easily the best melee attack speed mod in the game currently. What's happening? It's becoming Berserker Fury. It's being changed. The Berserker mods you already own are being changed into a different mod called Berserker Fury. So what it will do, unlike right now, we're going to show you Berserker right now. Berserker right now requires you to just get a crit. When you get a crit, it gives you 30% increased attack speed. And then if you get another crit after that, you can go up to 75% attack speed. That stacks up. For 24 seconds, that duration is. And since basically every melee is a crit melee, if most of them are, you're going to have constant 75% increased attack speed. Keep in mind, this does scale with other mods in your build as well. So once this change goes through, I have Prime Fury on this build, because I think Prime Fury will become a much more valuable mod after this change. These mods will not be able to be on the same build anymore. You cannot double stack them. But keep in mind, we do have Arcane Strike, the Arcane that increases your attack speed. They have not said this will not work, so you're probably going to want to make sure you have Arcane Strike before this update if you don't have it already. Keep in mind, we also have no date on when this update will come out. So, Berserker. That one's getting basically removed from the game as far as I'm concerned. Berserker is going to be in the dumpster, and it's quite unfortunate. Let's just get some gameplay on the screen, too, while we're going over this stuff, because they're also going to nerf Steel Essence. So, farm that Steel Essence. We'll have a video on that later this week. All right, Berserker gone. I'm probably going to remove it from, because here's the thing. It's being changed from on crit to now it's going to require on kill. So when you get a melee kill, so keep in mind, while you're hitting the enemy, but trying to kill the enemy, the mod's doing nothing on your build at all. After you kill the enemy, you get 35% increased attack speed for 10 seconds. So they've basically cut the duration like more than in half. It's going from 24 seconds from one crit to 10 seconds for one kill, stacking up to two times. So lower overall damage. I wouldn't be surprised if they change the math and it doesn't stack with other attack speed sources very well. We'll have to test it when it comes out, but this looks like Berserker is in the dumps, guys. I'd say possibly remove Berserker from your builds. Some replacements you could try. You could try Gladiator Vice, because we'll talk about the Blood Rush nerf a little bit here. Prime Fury, and Arcane Strike as well. Maybe like Wisp modes, of course. Valkyrie attack speed, Roar. So that's the biggest nerf, is like basically Berserker is removed from the game. So yeah, I think they were saying like, oh, it's because you can't see the animations. Who cares about the animations, dude? I mean, even if you nerf Berserker, I'm still going to be like just trying to get as fast attack speed as possible. I mean, not as fast, but very fast attack speed. So you're just making yourself look stupid, honestly, is my opinion on making the attack speed reduced. Move on to Blood Rush here. Now this one actually might be more impactful than it does appear from the outside. So, what Blood Rush, and you can actually simulate this nerf. We'll go over this in a little bit here. Blood Rush maximum value is being lowered. They think it's too easy to get red crits with just one mod. Never mind the fact that most weapons couldn't get red crits with just one mod, but we'll ignore their not complete knowledge of their own game modding system for a second here. So, Blood Rush is going from 60% crit chance per combo multiplier to 40% crit chance per combo multiplier. A very large nerf, actually. And certain weapons, now here's the thing, here's why I'm saying like these nerfs shouldn't have happened in the first place. Certain weapons aren't going to even lose a tier of crits. let's take the Cronin Prime for example. It's going to go from getting orange crits like 40, 50% of the time to getting orange crits like 18% of the time. It's just a quality of life nerf. This Blood Rush getting nerfed is just quality. And keep in mind, this is a 14 drain mod. A 14 drain mod is going to make it's hardly going to be, I guess it'll be a little bit better than Sacrificial Steel. It's going to be like double the power of Sacrificial Steel. But like, why nerf it? And let's just quickly simulate this. We'll go over the Condition Overload nerf a little bit here too. So let's go over the Volnus Prime, the newest melee weapon, with a simulated new build. Condition Overload's getting nerfed, as is Blood Rush. We have lower rank versions of these to simulate this. You can't get exactly 40. We have 38.2. Maxing it out like to the next level will be 43%. So let's just quickly show it here. Now you're going to with the current build I have on the Volnus Prime, you would be seeing some orange crits, mostly yellow crits. So with the new Blood Rush, you'll be seeing, I don't think you'll see any orange crits actually. Let's take a quick look. If you see any orange crits, let me know in the comments down below. Alright, so this is the simulated nerf. So as you can see, are we getting any like non-crits here? This is a 20% crit chance weapon. Okay. We're actually going to have some gameplay of some simulated nerfs on the steel path here in a second too. So as you can see, like there might be like 1% chance to get orange crits with this build, but it is going to be, for certain weapons, you're basically not going to see any more orange crits, you're not going to see any more, you might even see like no crits altogether on some certain weapons. Like we're at 20%, there was one orange crit right there. Okay, so it's probably like a 1% chance to orange crit with the Volnus Prime with just Blood Rush. I know we're missing 2% crit chance per combo multiplier, but you see what I'm going for here. It's mostly a quality of life nerf, which is hilarious. Just like Berserker. We're going to switch to other stuff. You're just making me not use Berserker anymore, so good job. Hopefully you feel like you're accomplished with your nerfs of these weapons in this game. Alright, moving on here. So that's basically a quality of life nerf. There will be certain weapons where that's going to suck, but overall, it's just making things less fun. Here's a big thing though. And since this is being nerfed, since Blood Rush is getting nerfed, I think that crit chance on Rivens will become a much more valuable stat. Because if I was to show you my Jack Kusar build, now keep in mind, Jack Kusar is one of the highest crit chance melees in the entire game. We're at 35% crit chance without any mods on the build. So if I was to do the stimulated Blood Rush thing, we will be getting like maybe like 1 or 2 red crits here. If you have a crit chance Riven, it's like for this weapon specifically, my Riven gives about 70% more attack speed, or 70% more crit chance. You'll be getting much more consistent red crits with a crit chance Riven after these changes. Now keep in mind, they also just completely ignore Rivens, so if you have an attack speed Riven, you should be able to stack that with Berserker Fury if you still want to use Berserker Fury, even though it, I think if you got Prime Fury, if you got, let's just look at the other mods for attack speed. This is going to help, like, circumvent the Gladiator, the Blood Rush nerf a little bit. As you see, 10% crit chance per combo multiplier. Blood Rush getting nerfed down by 20%. If you have 2 Gladiator mods, it's like the nerf didn't even happen. So with just Gladiator Vice, it's not as fast as Prime Fury. It's like half the speed of Prime Fury. It's a little bit, it's like half the nerf didn't happen. Then if you put another Gladiator mod, like maybe if you put Gladiator crit damage on there, it's like the nerf didn't even happen. So you could just do that. This would be like completely preventing the nerf. Although we're losing a 0.8 crit multiplier. That's just if you really like red crits. Like keep in mind, you don't need red crits for high level content. It's cool to see it. I mean, we want to have fun in this game. We don't want to just be like, oh well, I can go along with not having any orange crits. I'll just do yellow crits. It's fine. Like, no, that's stupid. I want to have fun. This is a Power Fantasy PvE game with no actual competitive elements to it. We should be having the maximum amount of fun possible, and the devs should not be trying to kill the fun just because they think it's too easy. We're going to finish up these melee nerfs here. Condition Overload getting nerfed. So okay, here's one that a lot of people are not understanding properly in my opinion. So, Condition Overload going from 120% melee damage per stats on the enemy to 80% stats on the enemy. But read the description right here. A lot of people are, I feel like, misreading it, and DE didn't do themselves any favors typing it out so stupid. So we're going to read this paragraph like verbatim right here. Condition Overload's maximum value is being lowered. It's been some time since we introduced this mod, and in this time, we decide that we're still not happy with the way it goes up against damage mods, namely Prime Pressure Point, because if you got like a couple stats on the enemy, you'd be doing more damage. All right, so we're right here. We've reduced this to 80% to make it almost as good as Prime Pressure Point. Now, here's where people are misunderstanding this, and DE wrote these patch notes like freaking second graders. So, almost as good as Prime Pressure Point, comma, and 3 status types back to where it was originally. It's like, what? Are they nerfing it to 3 status effects multiplying maximum? Because they wrote these patch notes like complete morons, in my opinion. Because it makes it sound like they're capping it to 3 statuses for condition overload, which that would be a giganto nerf. Like, probably the biggest nerf in damage we've ever seen in the game if they capped condition overload to 3 procs. Because if you've watched any of the videos about, like, use the Kuva Nuclear, use the Epitaph, use the whatever, you can get, like, let's just shoot them once with the Epitaph and see what happens. I don't know if this is a crit build or a status build. 1 proc is, like, it's not hard. 3 procs, so that's 1 trigger pull. 5 status effects on this enemy. If they were to nerf it where it's only 3, you would never use, like, certain CO proccers. And the Kuva Nuclear can get, like, 8 from one shot, because it has the hidden status effect that also works for condition overload called microwave. So if that's actually what's happening, and they just didn't write the patch notes like idiots, they just wrote it like someone that just doesn't know the English language properly, that would suck. And that would be a gigantic nerf to condition overload. Let's get a simulated nerf on the screen here now that we've gone over what is getting nerfed about Melee. It's basically going to be Blood Rush and condition overload. So here's a simulated nerf with the dual ethers on Ash Prime. Now keep in mind, we have lower ranked condition overloads and lower ranked Blood Rushes to simulate the nerf. With a crit damage and range driven, we are not really getting, I don't think there's any orange crits in here, although there's an orange crit right there. So orange crits are going to be a lot less common with this nerf, guys. This is a simulated nerf. All right, let's move on here to the rest of the stuff that has changed. Now, like I said, I feel like you could have done all these balance. We're going to go over the gun buffs here in a second. You could have done all of these gun buffs, or gun buffs, air quotes, and changes. You could have just not done the melee nerfs. We were asking for guns to be better on the steel path. We weren't asking for melee to get nerfed. DE took meme videos way too seriously, and the animation guy got all annoyed that we were attacking so fast, apparently, because he works so hard on the animations. I mean, like, really? Is that what we've come to at this point? The animation art team guy is complaining about us attacking too fast, and we're getting nerfed because of that. Okay, let's move on to the rest of the changes that are negative, then we'll go over the changes that are positive, and well, you could call them positive. It's basically going to be a gigantic grind. When we said we wanted gun buffs, we meant we wanted a 200,000 endo grind, and we wanted to be basically forced to run the steel path to get these gun buffs. All right, so let's get into it. As you can see on the screen, though, Melee will still be the king, most likely. I mean, they're adding condition overload for guns, but, we've already gone over in the past why guns will never be as good as Melee. Oh, and by the way, they didn't address single-target guns versus multi-target guns at all. Hooray! Don't you love when things are properly thought out? Well, they're not here. Suffer! All right, so let's go over the next thing here. So here, this is not even important. So they're nerfing glaives, kind of, but people are not reading this properly, in my opinion. The only thing about heavy attack glaive meta that's going to get nerfed is the heavy attack windup for a glaive is going to be doubled. So, for example, when you throw a glaive prime with a heavy attack throw and detonate it midair, it takes 0.6 seconds on the live build currently. After this nerf, it will take 1.2 seconds. The attack speed for the heavy throw on the glaive is being reduced. So, if you are already running Killing Blow and Amalgam Organ Shatter, it's like nothing. Honestly, it probably won't even matter. It will be like a 0.5 second throw. It will be exactly the same. Let's just see. I can show you that right here. So if you're just running a build like this one, the one I already have shown in videos, Amalgam Organ Shatter, Killing Blow, it should be honestly totally fine. We weren't running Berserker on here anyway. And yeah, these things will still do force slash proxy. This is not getting nerfed at all. The quick throws on the glaive are getting nerfed. So that's going to be things that people don't really use that often, but we'll go over it a little bit here. So, the heavy attack windup speed is reduced. The direct hit from the quick attack throws, quick throws right here, that is being reduced from 366 to 201, basically cutting all the damage in half, radial damage being reduced in half. If that radial damage is also affecting heavy attacks, that would be a problem, but from the way I've read these patch notes, it does not sound like the heavy attack explosions are getting nerfed. So that is actually not too big of a deal. It would be hilarious if they were actually nerfing the Kestrel. Wow, the Kestrel has terrible stats. 92 damage. Yikes. All right, the Kuva Nuclear. This one's big. I got 4 Kuva Nuclears. They got like 4 or 5 form on all of them. Kuva Nuclear is the most popular gun in the entire game, the most powerful gun in the entire game, And it's used for a multitude of reasons. It's used for condition overload procs enemies. Like I said, it has the microwave status effect, giving you another additional chunk of damage with your condition overload. It multi-kills enemies. It does heat procs. It does toxin. It does all this stuff. You can even get an impact Kuva Nuclear to get slash procs with hemorrhage. It's getting nerfed. It's finally getting nerfed. Not like we didn't call it like a long time ago. It's so blatantly the best gun. And they're not going to bring things up to its level. They're going to bring it down a little bit, a couple levels. And I feel like this nerf might be enough to potentially switch everyone to the Epitaph. Maybe not everyone, but switch some people to the Epitaph. So the Kuva Nuclear is getting its maximum chain targets reduced from 4 targets maximum chain to 2 targets maximum chain. This is all the information we have on this change, and some things you can keep in mind here is that, now here's the big thing. We don't know if punch through will still work, because like the way that punch through works on the Kuva Nuclear currently is if you have some punch through the Kuva Nuclear and you like shoot an enemy, it will punch through the first enemy, chain to the enemies, punch the second enemy, and chain to some more enemies. It's not an infinite chain, but that's why I have punch through my Kuva Nuclear Riven. If this still works and we can punch through the first enemy and chain to 4 enemies total from 1 beam, it shouldn't be too big of a deal. It will still not be as strong as before, but it should not be as big of a deal for getting those procs on the enemies, which we need so badly. And if they're not capping conditioner overload, it will probably be like nothing even happened. Like, it will be a little bit less consistent, a little bit less AoE. For speed clearing enemies, it will definitely be worse. But like I showed the Epitaph earlier, that one does not have any problems hitting more than 2 enemies per shot. So, as you see right there, we'll try to like do this punch through thing I'm talking about. So I hit her, chain to those 3 around her, I shoot through, and see it's chaining all the way back here. The punch through, like normally it wouldn't have chained to that enemy right there, but if I shoot through her, it does chain to the enemy back there because of the punch through. That's something that people didn't really realize a lot with the Kuva Nuclear, and I know I haven't done a really good job explaining it. So, since this is getting nerfed, some alternatives you can go for. As long as you're not nerfing condition overload more than we thought. You can go for a lot of things, actually. The Gaze kit gun, that has 2 chaining enemies as well. You can get a pretty high status version of that. There's the Epitaph, like I said. This hits more than 4 enemies, but the problem with this, it's an AOE explosion gun. So if you don't have prime sure-footed on your build, you're not playing Revenant, you're not playing Rhino, you're going to get knocked over. So this is going to proc a lot of stats, though, because the hidden status effect, the hidden status chance is it's like 50%, which is the same as the Kuva Nuclear. So with this, it's like 150% status chance. You get a multi-shot status chance Riven, you'll be good to go. It's also got projectile flight speed, and it's a little bit less convenient. It's not as easy to use as the Kuva Nuclear. So right there, those guys are all proc. That was definitely better than the Nuclear there. This is a controlled situation, so, like that right there, what I just did right there, that's not getting nerfed at all. All that stuff that you just saw right there was not getting nerfed. Because we were not using Blood Rush, we weren't using Berserker, we weren't using the Kuva Nuclear, we weren't using Condition Overload. So that stuff right there, Epitaph, Glaive, that's still going to work after the update, guys. Which is why I'm not going nuclear on these changes, because it just feels stupid. It feels like a waste. Why am I even reading these? This isn't even a big change. As I showed in the simulated nerf, we'll put that back on the screen. The simulated nerfs, it's like nothing's even changing. I'm seeing less orange crits. It's less fun. That's all that's changing. You're making the game less fun. Who gives a crap? They're just trash ads. They're just trash ads. There's no raid boss. Oh, you're gonna call a Demolist a raid boss? A mini boss? I'm gonna still kill a freaking Demolist with the same crap I was killing him with before. You're changing nothing. I'm gonna use the same shit. You're wasting your freaking time. You have no idea how to even nerf stuff, apparently. Alright, let's go over the gun changes here. Alright, so that's all the stuff that's getting nerfed, basically. Onward to primaries and secondaries. Now, if you want to have some band-aids attached to a grind, here you go. We have the game for you. It's called Nerf Frame. Alright, so primaries and secondary weapon arcanes. So, this is a new thing they're adding with the Sister Parvos update. This update is going to be some freaking grind, let me tell you. You're going to have those Corpus Liches, you're going to have the Steel Path mods, you have the Steel Path arcanes, you're going to have everything that is going to be grind. If you have lots of free time, this is the game for you. If you got no free time, well, too bad, because you can't even buy the arcane unlockers. Let's get into it here. Alright. We're talking about these big changes, and we are really bad at balancing stuff, so we're going to add some arcanes, because we're too lazy to change the stats of the guns. Entire approach was to make the guns in the arsenal a better choice, so we nerf melee. And then the melee and the gun, and then the melee and the gun. Alright, so there's these new arcanes for primaries and secondaries. There's 3 per each, and I'm going to just give you the quick version of it, because the primary versions, there's 3 of them, and the secondary versions are the same thing, just for secondaries. It's the exact same crap. So, I'm going to give you the easy version of this. The first one's called Primary Merciless, and this is the one we want to use on AOE guns, multi-target guns. So, on kill, plus 30% damage for 6 seconds, stacked up to 12 times. Now, every 6 seconds, I'm hoping you just lose 1 stack of this, and not every stack of this. Because if we are forced to kill an enemy every 6 seconds to keep this going, it might potentially not be useful. But it's still, this is going to be not even a part of, you don't have to mod for this. This will be a separate arcane slot hanging out on the side of your weapon. So for example, on my Kuva Brahma, which by the way, this will be the Brahma arcane, by the way. On the Kuva Brahma, right up here above the Vigilante supplies, I would put this arcane. This arcane is going to give me potentially 360% increased damage if I have it fully stacked. And the Brahma can stack that easily. You usually kill like 4 or 5 enemies per shot. So 360% increased damage on my Brahma. 30% increased reload speed. Not super noticeable on bows, but some people do like reload speed. It will be more useful on like weapons like the Kuva Ogress, which you can kill multiple enemies per shot. 100% MO max. So this looks like Brahma. This is screaming Brahma Ogress to me. This is screaming Concord. This one's screaming AOE in general. 360% increased damage, reload speed, and ammo max. So the way you're going to get these new arcanes is, and the way you unlock the arcane slot on your weapon, you need 15 steel essence to buy an arcane unlocker. Once the arcane unlocker is in your inventory, you can go to your weapon and you can put the arcane unlocker on your weapon. So it would be like a little slot right here. It's like, give me the arcane unlocker. You can put the arcane on your Brahma, if you have the arcane, that is. The way that these arcanes will drop, they will drop from the acolytes with a 100% drop rate. Now, my speculation is, since there's 6 arcanes, there are 6 acolytes. I think that each acolyte will have an arcane associated with them. So, yeah, if you do not run the steel path, you don't like the steel path, this entire update that we're talking about right here, the gun buff melee nerf thing, you're not going to notice anything about it. You're going to notice that you're not seeing any orange crits on some of your melee weapons, or like 1% orange crits. But this stuff right here, you need to either buy it from somebody, or you can't buy steel essence. So you need to actually farm 15 steel essence to even get this stuff on your gun in the first place. So the first one's for AoE. The second one is hilariously for pinpoint accurate weapons, which I don't know why they think we're even using these. But apparently they just, in some hilarious world, they think that we use guns like the Cerberus, like normally. So, yeah. So this one's focused on, headshot weapons. Now I'm going to show you what I mean right here. So, Cerberus Prime, I don't have a ribbon for it anymore because who would eat? I guess. And like here, I'm just going to use it on these enemies. Now, I'm going to look at like how fast they die. Even if they died in one shot, which they're not, by the way, this is going to be infinitely slower than an AoE gun. Let's say they died in one shot, which, by the way, that was like 10% of their health with 100 munitions build. Like, this would never be worth it. And what this arcane will do is not going to really be helping these arcanes at all, or these weapons. It's just going to be the same thing. They're going to be better at what they were already doing, which was not being used at all. But we'll go over it. On headshot kill. So you have to kill them with a headshot kill with these weapons. And this does not work for AoE guns. 120% increased damage for 24 seconds. Now keep in mind, the AoE one is 6 seconds. This one is 24 seconds. Stacked up to 3 times. So the same amount of damage, fully stacked up, but it's less kills to achieve it. It takes 3 headshot kills. And you get a increased headshot multiplier and reduced weapon recoil. Okay, I guess so. I'm never going to use these single target Cerberus types of weapons at all. Not that I'm like pogging off with the Kuva Hind right now. It's just, it's just kind of hilarious that like this is their solution. This is the only mention in the entire patch notes of AoE versus melee, or AoE. I guess you can call it AoE melee. Single target versus AoE. This is the only mention that you can't use the primary deadhead arcane with AoE guns. I honestly feel like they can't fix it. They can't fix single target versus multi-target. We would need Warframe 2 to make enemies more impactful. Like single target would be more impactful for less enemies on the screen, but more impactful enemies on the screen. Because look at what I'm doing in this gameplay right here. The enemies, like the single enemies don't matter to me. I'm not looking for like, oh, is that guy a bombard? Oh, look, I gotta treat the bombard differently. I gotta treat the heavy gunner differently. These enemies are just like useless worms to me. I slash through them like they don't even exist. So that would need to be changed, because the way it is right now, a single target weapon is not going to be used here. I'm multi-slashing them all at the same time. They have not addressed it at all, because I don't think it's possible for them to address it, because it's too much work. They're not going to change the base stats of the weapons. They're not going to change single target versus multi-target. They'd probably just end up nerfing multi-target if they were to ever do that. Let's go over the rest of these arcanes. Now, this next one is actually going to involve melee and gun mixing together. It says, primary dexterity. On melee kill, 60% increased damage for 20 seconds. Stacks up to 6 times. So on melee kill, so you throw your glaive, kill 6 enemies, you got your increased damage right there. And it's going to be 360 damage just like the previous ones. Keep in mind, we're going to quickly show this right here. They have a video on their channel where they show the arcanes and they show the Steel Essence nerfs. On their channel, the arcane that we're just talking about, the melee kills give you primary damage. That one had increased combo duration for melee as well. So that's not on here, which is why I think these these notes were just rushed out, as we have this failure of English up here with condition overload. And 3 status types where, like, what? Like, what? I feel like these patch notes were rushed out. Okay, so long and short of it, you got AOE kill arcane, which gives you 6 seconds buff with increased ammo and reload. You got the useless single target headshot arcane, which gives you headshot multiplier and weapon recoil. And you got the melee primary mix one, which is going to also have increased combo duration on there. Overall, I think that the primary AOE one will be the most used, obviously, and I think the melee one will be pretty good, with the headshot one being just hilariously laughed at in the corner because it's useless. And like I said, these primaries and the secondary versions are the exact same. They have the exact same effects, as you can see right here. AOE stacks with 12 times, headshot multiplier stacks with 12 times, and then the melee mixture one right there. All right, now let's move on to the actual interesting stuff with this update. We went over the arcanes, we went over the nerfs. Now, these are these new Endo-Sync arcanes. Yes, this is going to basically be a giganto grind. If you like grinding and you are not burnt out yet, you're about to get burnt out now, because this is the grind within, boys. The grind within. So we've got these new mods. They're called galvanized mods. And just like the other arcanes that require kills and headshots and all this stuff, you gotta summon the warframe. We've got galvanized scope, which is basically going to be a buffed version of Argon scope. We've got galvanized chamber. We've got multi-shot mods, and we've got aptitude. Now, there's a status chance mod right here. This is going to be condition overload for shotguns, rifles, and pistols. Condition overload for primaries and guns have been added. They will be added with this update. These mods will come from Teshin's store for Steel Essence. My guess is about 75 to 100 Steel Essence per mod, and there's 9 of them. Thankfully, you'll be able to skip a couple of them because they're probably not going to be very good, but we'll go over what these do here and how you might want to change your builds in the future. All right, so we'll start off with just from the top. So, like I said, it's Argon Scope, but a lot more grindy. These are all rank 10 mods, so you need a lot of endo, you need a lot of credits to max these out to get the full effect. So, Galvanized Scope, top left. On headshot with a rifle. 120% increased crit chance while aiming for 12 seconds. On headshot kill, 40% increased crit chance while aiming for 12 seconds, stacked up to 5 times. So if you stack it up 5 times, it's 320% increased crit chance with a rifle while aiming for 12 seconds. So you gotta keep getting headshot kills to keep it going. I'd say overall, I like the idea of this. It won't be really useful on AOE guns, but that's okay because, at least it's interesting, I can get a headshot with my Fulman, which does have AOE, and then, the crit chance is getting massively, massively increased. So, right here, the big question, though, is, where are you going to put these mods? This is a 14 drain mod. It's going to give you less crit chance than Point Strike at base, but once you start getting headshots, you're going to stack up. You'll be seeing some, orange and red crits, potentially, with the Fulman and things like that. Where are you going to put these? On this build, I would probably end up replacing Point Strike with this. It's basically going to be double the stats of Point Strike if you get enough headshots, but only while aiming. So it's really going to be a person-to-person basis. If you don't usually run a Riven mod, maybe you could run it in the Riven mod slot. But honestly, we might not have enough space for these mods. That's unfortunate. But that one I'd say is one of the least useful ones on headshots, getting the crit chance for the rifles. Let's move on. Now this one is actually probably going to be a new staple mod, Galvanized Chamber. So at base, 80% increased multi-shot. On kill, 3% increased multi-shot for 20 seconds. Stacks up to 4 times. So if you have it fully stacked up, you get 4 kills within 20 seconds. It's 200% multi-shot. If we look at normal split chamber right now, this mod is almost as good as normal split chamber without even being stacked up. Split chamber is 90% at base. Galvanized chamber is 80% at base. So this will just replace split chamber. Also, keep in mind, split chamber is a 15 drain mod. This new one is a 14 drain mod. So it's just a replacement. It's straight up just a replacement. And if you don't have it, don't worry about it because you've been playing the game just fine without it before. So yeah, that will be one of the most valuable ones right there. And this exact same mod, Galvanized Chamber, has the same version for shotguns and for secondaries. But the secondaries one is actually a lot lower at base. But we'll go over that too. So that's good. That one's pretty good. It's going to drop from the Tekken store. Next one. Now we're going over the condition overload for guns right here. So we've got Galvanized Aptitude, 80% stash chance at base. And then on kill, 40% damage per status effect on the enemy for 20 seconds, stacking up to 2 times. So 40% damage per status on the enemy, stacking 2 times. So it would be 80% damage per status on the enemy if you have it stacked up. I mean, it's not too hard to get 2 kills. Maybe if you took some pretty impactful mods of your build, it would be hard to get 2 kills. And it's also going to give you that stash chance. So this is our condition overload for guns. Now here's something I'm going to give you a hot take right now. You want to hear some of the strats that I'm thinking about? I think that Zata's Whisper from Zaku, it's called Zaku's Whisper, right? It's Zata's Whisper. Gives you a second instance of damage on your guns. It's going to be a void damage effect, and it will actually give you more status effects for condition overload. I think Zata's Whisper will become a very, very powerful helmet ability after they add condition overload for guns. Because it's another CO proc, it's more damage, it covers you in poop, so that might be a lot more valuable after these changes. Overall, do I think this is worth running on your build? Honestly, it's going to depend weapon to weapon. Because I don't think it's going to become like a meta where it's like, well, you got to proc them up with your secondary and then shoot them with your gun. Like, no. Realistically, like the enemies won't be taking like more than like 3 status effects in a lot of situations. So I shoot them once with the Fullman, 2 status effects. If I shot them a couple more times, they might have like 3 or 4 status effects. I feel like it's not going to be on every mod. It's not going to be like for melees where it's like you run condition overload on every melee. It's going to be like on certain guns. Like the Kuva Comb, I can see this being a beastly mod on the Kuva Comb. Or for the secondary version. The Epitaph, I mean, that's like a single target weapon most of the time, but you're going to get a lot of procs with it. One of my weapons I'm looking out for is the Twin Comac, because I have a really good Riven for it, and these things pump out status like crazy. I've actually already got it ready to go, so I'll probably put the new CO mod in this bottom right slot. Now keep in mind, those new condition overload for gun mods are actually going to be a D polarity, so you might need to Forma, as you can see right there, those D polarity mods, there's not many D polarity mods in the game, you might need to Forma extra time or 2 to fit this mod on here. It's like a 14 drain D polarity mod. And as you can see right now, there are not many D polarity mods. We've got Deep Freeze and Sure Shot in the secondary section. So like maybe like put it right here. If you don't think that you need Hornet Strike, you could maybe put it right here. I feel like Hornet Strike might still be useful for getting yourself ramped up. And especially for the Twin Comac, you want some fire rate. So it's going to be a hard decision of what I want to remove. I feel like keeping the Heat mod on here is good for getting enough procs. But this thing is going to be, like, they're going to tear through. The Comb family is going to tear through stuff, guys. And the Boo Boo Nico is going to tear through stuff, too. So there are a couple shots. That's 5 procs. So with this new thing, if we got a couple kills, that would be, like, hundreds and hundreds of % of damage with the Twin Comac and the Kuva Comb. So I'd say look out for those weapons being really strong. And then let's just go over the rest of them. So, like, hilariously, the shotguns don't have a crit chance one. Like, there is no galvanized scope for shotguns. There's galvanized projectile flight speed, which we were talking about the Comb, even the Phantasma. So, we've got condition overload, we've got multi-shot, and then we've got projectile speed. It's an Exilus mod, thankfully. But on kill, beam length and projectile speed for shotguns. Stacks up to 2 times for 10 seconds. So I guess that's going to be 90% increased projectile speed for your shotgun and max rank. Let's look at Lethal Torrent, how much, or I guess it's Lethal Momentum or whatever it's called, how much better that will be. Let's just look at the Corinth Prime, because that's the closest one I saw right there. How much better will this be, projectile speed-wise? Now, keep in mind, this will affect your damage fall-off. It's going to be over double the stats of Fatal Acceleration, but you're going to have to stack it up from getting kills. Is that going to be worth it to you? It's a 14 Drain Exilus mod. It's going to be a V polarity. So if you were to formal for it, you would not be able to switch between Lock and Load and Vigilante Supplies, which are arguably more useful. Or prime. Basically, the V polarity ones aren't. There's not many V polarity choices. There's Fatal Acceleration, which you'd be replacing it for, Narrow Barrel, and things of that nature. So that'll probably be one of the ones I don't level up anytime soon. Increase projectile speed for shotguns, but yeah. And then we've got multi-shot. Now keep in mind, this is the big thing. Galvanized diffusion for pistols. Normal barrel diffusion is 120%. This is 80%, and it will stack up to 200% maximum. That one might not be as useful, but it overall will be more multi-shot in the long run if you do get it stacked up. So that one might potentially not be as good. Galvanized crosshairs, similar to galvanized scope, going to be basically argon scope for secondaries, which will stack up. And we've got conditioner overload for pistols as well. Now, big thing about this one, the pistol version of conditioner overload actually stacks up to 3 times. So that might make the Kuva Nuclear still extremely, extremely powerful for clearing out hordes of enemies. If you get a couple kills, you're getting like 600% increased damage, I think it is. Actually, no, it's not that much. 40% per stats effect on the enemy, stacked up 3 times. So you'll be getting 120% per stats effect on the enemy if you're fully stacked up. I mean, it could be good. So the thing about these mods, I'm happy they exist, but I'm wondering how actually impactful they'll be in the long run. Like, am I going to be running these on every build? I'll tell you for a fact, the new split chamber mod, I will be running on every build, basically, because it's just a power cut version of normal split chamber. I'm getting over double the value for just doing what I'm normally doing, getting some kills with these weapons. So overall, that's the changes, guys. If you have a Kuva Nuclear, since they're nerfing it, they're going to give you a couple Forma. If you already have killed a Kuva Lich, you'll get a new Requiem Universal Wildcard mod and some other useless stuff as well. So overall, I feel like you could have done all these changes. You could have added these new mods. You could have done this. You could have done that without nerfing Melee. It feels like the Melee nerfs were stapled on at the end. They really do. It's just like, okay, so the guy that does animations didn't like attack speed. Why are we valuing that complaint so highly? You're making it so I'm seeing less orange crits with my Melee. Why is that so important? If they don't cap condition overload, it's just a little bit less damage. Let's say like a couple stacks, you're going to be getting like 120% less damage with your melees. I don't see the point. You could have just done these gun buffs like we were asking for, and there would have been no negative feelings at all from anyone. It's just like, oh, they're nice. Look at all these new mods. Look at these new mods. We're gonna have to grind, but at least they're gonna feel cool and impactful. It feels like they could have done these changes without the Melee nerfs, and we would have been better for it. But here we are, complaining about DE over nerfing stuff again. And I don't think it's an over nerf. I think it's just a waste of time. Like, why even waste my time, my life force, reading these freaking Melee nerf patch notes when it's not gonna change anything? Melee will still be the king. Bingo was achieved, by the way. And it just feels like it's amateur hour yet again. Like, why are these people making these decisions? Like, Maiming Strike wasn't even touched. Single target versus multi-target. Is that just out of their like... They can't do that, basically. It's too much work. I feel like they should have done a gun passover. Like, okay, well, the Exorgist needs 2% more crit chance. Yeah, we needed 2% more crit chance of the Exorgist. All right, moving on. The Kuva Karak. Yeah, no one would ever use the Kuva Karak over the Karak Wraith. We're going to make it actually have a reason to exist besides Mastery Fodder. Let's make the Kuva Karak have triple the crit chance. Now it has more crit chance than the Karak, the Kuva Karak. The Karak Wraith actually has a reason to exist now. It's things like that. There's certain weapons that should never even exist. But, like, at the same time, like, they're difficult to obtain. The Karak Wraith is not easy to obtain. It requires you to do invasions. The Kuva Karak just dominates it all day long. And this thing has no reason to exist. That's what they should have done, but instead they gave us new mods that require you to have, like, thousands and thousands of endo. And farm the Steel Path. A lot of people don't farm the Steel Path, honestly. I feel like you have nothing else to do besides farm the Steel Path at this point. Also, we didn't go over the Steel Essence nerf. If you've lasted 40 minutes into the video, well, here we are. The Steel Essence nerf is upon us. And you know what? It sucked anyway, so I don't really even care. But they're basically making it where Steel Essence will despawn after 5 minutes on the ground, so people can't wait around with the cat buff and, farm it when it's been sitting there for a while, when they finally get their cat buff. We'll have a video on that specifically later in the week, just so you can make sure you get the most skill lessons before the update comes out. And overall, yeah, I feel like this is just like idiot amateur hour as far as these changes are concerned. I feel like these new mods, like, they're not gonna make guns strong. Like, it's not gonna instantly make, like, oh look, the Boo Boo Nico, it's so good, I'm gonna stop using melee. I'm gonna stop using my force slash proc melee. Heavy attack weapons are gonna be like even better because light attack weapons are weaker now, but the kills per second on a light attack weapon will still be better than a heavy attack weapon. So that's not gonna even change anything, honestly. So overall, there will be more. Well, make sure you check out the live stream channel if you want to see more opinions from me. Make sure you join the Discord server and all that. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Hopefully this was helpful information to you. Like I said, it's hard to even get mad about it because these changes are just so stupid. It's like you're trying to put logic to stupidity, and it's not worth your brain power at this point, at least to me. So I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy, and peace.